Hi, my name is Anthony Marziani. Today, I'd like to discuss the field of human rights. More specifically, I'd like to address the dehumanization of Africans in the 20th century and how those cynical views require people of the new generation to create new awareness and opinions of racial bias. The work I chose for my HLE text was on page 50 through 51 of Seen and Buried Seeing. I'd like to address everything through these pages and see just how racial biases became prevalent and how the connection between animals and African Americans, or black people in general, were prevalent and really showed how ruthlessly slaughtered black people were during slavery and even beyond that. So, my quote happens to be, "This ain't the old days." And then his cousin put up his arms and mumbled he was supposed to lose Pac. 100 yards off, the buck lay on his side, one arrow in his neck, another in his stomach. All of them cold and hard as my brother, their blood congealing. The connection between Gibbon and the buck really shows that there was a distinct racial variation between the white and black people in America, and even beyond that. This really shows that black people were treated as cattle, as something that were not human, something that can be killed easily, and that their lives don't matter as much as others. Especially be compared to a buck. A buck is a animal that is not seen as a predator but a prey, meaning that white people were the predator of the black people. Moreover, soon after that quote, there's a paragraph that repeats the words hunting accident 3 times. That is motif, and that really also spreads awareness to that abuse of power within that area, and shows the amount of racial bias and racial discrimination that happened throughout the 1950s all the way to today. Moving on to my other 3 sources, I think another great example that happened throughout the book is a white man that was in prison, specifically Parchman, was being compared to a pig. That's huge to show the authorial rank and privilege that he had as a white person. While pigs are disgusting, we know that they have a lot of power and are able to take a lot of things down and destroy a lot of things behind the scenes. So this really shows how a lot of white people during the time were able to get out of things that may have been very prevalent to the black community while they treated it as something normal. My second example would be the dogs liking River, which is a very key character in the book Seen and Buried Seeing, to show black people are better than racial bias. Now, this one can be a little controversial just because there's not much connection to that. It hasn't been talked about a lot, but River was liked by the dogs, and that's very important to know because the dogs were not liked by the white people, and this can show that black people are not very malicious as they seem compared to their racial bias. My last example is Richie being skinned like a goat. A goat was being skinned at the beginning of the book, and then Richie was skinned at the end of the book, which shows a distinct connection between black people and animals, once again being skinned and treated like cattle, which is an unfair thing. To close off, those 3 points all show that the racial bias was very prevalent throughout Seen and Buried Seeing and is a very big global issue that should be taken care of. It continues on to this day, especially with racial systematic racism and discrimination that happens to fail the black people and many races throughout society. And yeah.